Three, two, one, and we are live. Let's take away the music, Lewis. We got Lewis in the background. He's our technical director. And with us today, we got the one and only Anthony from PickFu. Anthony, thank you so much for being here with us, man. I really appreciate it. A little bit background about Anthony. We met at a contest. The first time we met was through a contest that PickFu hosted called the Amazing Listing, where we competed against other agencies. Long story short, we were the winners. Yay! And it was such a fun contest. We were in such communication with Anthony, and we really got to know each other. Anthony came down to Florida a couple, I would say like a month ago, and we hit it off. Anthony's a great guy. He has tons of experience, but I'll let him talk so you can understand why you should trust what he's gonna say here today. Anthony, take it away.
Hey, Rafael, thanks so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure getting to chat with you, one of the big minds in the industry. My story started actually working at Amazon. This would be like 4 or 5 years ago. I worked in fulfillment center operations, and so I kind of got to see how things worked from the inside. And then I had been working there for about a year, and a friend of mine that actually taught me how to sell on Amazon when we were in college, we started going to these FBA events. I launched my first product. This was like before I started working at Amazon. And, after working there for about a year, he gave me a call and said, "Hey, why don't you quit your job at Amazon, move out to the Philippines and help me grow this creative studio?" And that was called Virtuous Graphics. And so I did that. I resigned from Amazon, moved out there, and built up this team to more than 25 people. We did all sorts of content for the listing: video, photography, graphic design, and copywriting. And then we were able to exit that business in 2019. And I took a couple months off and then started working with PickFu. And PickFu is one of the tools that I'd used at the agency really for main image testing. And so it seemed like a really good fit. It seemed like a really great tool that not many people in the industry really knew about or were using. And so I worked there for the past 2 years, just getting the word out, working with a lot of our partners, some of the biggest clients that we had, and doing a lot of trainings with them, looking at their listings and just helping them get their conversion rates up.
That's good. That's good. That's so good to hear, my man. So good to hear. So let's talk about. So guys, please remember to subscribe. This is the only motivation that we get. We don't charge for this. We don't do anything for this. The only currency we ask of you is just to subscribe, follow us, subscribe to follow Anthony on Instagram, follow us on Instagram. Just subscribe to this channel where you're at. If you're seeing it on Facebook, just like it. YouTube, subscribe, and LinkedIn, give us a follows as well. So we're here to talk about a tool that I've used since I got in touch with it. It's been worked tremendously because I know what's most likely gonna sell before it sells. That is so big, right? Because if I would say the most important piece of content in the visual content within the listing will be the main image. That's what's gonna make you, a client, a potential buyer, click on the listing and be able to convert him. That depends on the other images, but the main image is the one that's going to decide if he's going to click on it or not. And there's so much competition on Amazon right now. And you look for, I don't know, weight loss hula hoop, right? And you get like 30. So what's going to make the client, not based on pricing, might influence, but a lot of it goes to, what the image is telling you and what and feels. So tell me a little bit about how PickFu helps sellers make that decision which image to use, so they can use it to optimize their listing the best way possible.
Yeah. So when I'm thinking about visuals, I'm thinking about, two components really for what works on Amazon. I'm thinking about what actually looks good, right? That's just visual appeal and aesthetics. And then the flow of information, right? So if someone is looking at something, is it going to click in their brain? Like, what is this product? What's this image trying to show me? And when I'm trying to prioritize those, I'm trying to prioritize the flow of information first. And then secondly, can I make this look really, really good? And where I think PickFu can be really helpful is, let's say you're coming up with a few different versions of your main image and you want something to click in someone's head very quick. Because when someone's shopping on Amazon specifically, we have this expectation, right? That they're sitting there, they've got their credit card out, there's a big smile on their face and they're ready to buy. But the reality is a little bit different. They're probably very distracted. The kids are running around in the background, the dog's barking. It's been a crazy year with COVID. And so, like you're saying, when they go search for this hula hoop, there's like 20 people plus selling the exact same thing. And so you have to be very quick in how you communicate, and it needs to stick in their brain. Like, okay, out of everyone selling this hula hoop, this is the one specifically that I'm looking for. Like, this is the listing I'm going to click into. And then when they're actually in the listing, there's a certain checkbox of things in their head that they want to clarify and they want to see before they actually click add to cart, right? And so you got to be really quick in how you communicate that. Where PickFu comes in is it can help optimize the flow of information and the visual aesthetics. And so like a lot of times we'll go in, and if we're testing like an infographic, let's say we're talking about hula hoops and we want to talk about like what kind of workouts are these for, I'm going to come up with multiple versions of that infographic showing like how to use this. And then I'm going to ask a question that's really linked to the flow of information. Like, which one of these graphics does the best job of explaining how to use this hula hoop, right? And so once I get that down and I lock in the flow of information, then I want to go over and figure out, okay, figure out how to present this information in the most streamlined way, but how can I make it actually now look really good, look really professional?
Definitely, it's a great tool to it's a great asset, I would even say, to have in your pocket. This is one of the key things that helps us become to the stage where we're at, that we can try and these images out before we even deliver them to the client. So what we do at Share Studio is that we create more than one main image. At least I'm just gonna, there's so many things we can do with PickFu. I'm just gonna talk about the main images, so everybody's like, the simple way. So we got 5 images. We test up to 8 sometimes. I don't know if you can test more than 8 or 12. Well,
just up to
we
8,
test
yeah.
Yeah, so we test 8 most of the times, and then we have this decision, and we get the feedback. The most important thing that I feel like that we're getting is the feedback from the actual attendees that are taking the survey, and then you get the feedback, and then you say, oh, I like this because of this, I like this because of X, Y, and Z. I think that is so helpful because that allows us to even go further. So, for example, image, number 5 one, but a lot of the reviewers are saying, "Oh, I love this image, but I wish maybe the one of the rings of the hula hoop was blue," right? And then most likely we'll make some modifications to the main image that can help. Obviously, this is an extreme example. You cannot change the product color; it doesn't come in the listing. We don't know that, but this is what I'm trying to say. Like, if we can have that feedback in real time before we even launch it, before the client launches it, that is so helpful. I think it's one of the best tools from PickFu. What else can we do with PickFu?
Well, one of the other things I also just want to mention there is like, so I've seen Rafael's stuff before, right? He's a really good creative director, and what he puts out is just top notch, right? That's why they won the competition. And, I don't want to say it wasn't really close between the other teams, but it was just like such a strong performance against all the categories that it was just really good across the board, really consistent. The thing is, for a lot of sellers, they, myself included, I don't come from a creative background. I still can't shoot a camera off of manual mode. I don't know how to use Photoshop or Illustrator. And so for a lot of sellers, there's this big gap between, it's like they know what they want their stuff to look like, but it's like they're really starting at a baseline level, or they're like, they just don't want to touch it at all. And so where PickFu can be really helpful is like, if you have no direction at all, right? Versus just like, I'm going to go and either hire some freelance designers, or even I'm going to work with an agency, and they don't even have a direction for where to go. PickFu can be really helpful that you can just go and create something, you can upload it, and then based on the feedback that you're getting, that can kind of be some creative direction for you, right? And it can really help you just get a sense of like, what is working and why is it working, and how do you double down on those elements? So I guess like to the question of like, what else can PickFu do? I think where it's the most helpful is you're just trying to compare between very similar options, right? Because like when you're going through an iterative process, what I've found works really well, especially if you're kind of DIYing it or you're working with an agency, is a lot of people have this sense that, hey, I want to go and optimize my product packaging. And right now I have really bad packaging and I want to go to new packaging. And they think that it's just going to be like magic. Like you're just going to come up with a new concept and that's going to be like slam dunk. Let's go and order 1,000 units and change our packaging. The reality is like, and even in Rafael's agency, I'm sure most of the time you're not just coming up with like one thing and you're like, that's it. The magic happens in the revisions, right? right? Like that's just really what it comes down to. And a lot of times what we start out with is so different from where we end up with, but most sellers just stop at that first level. And it's all about just going a level deep, a level deep, a level deep. And so like if you're working and you don't have an agency that like is going to go through all of those revisions for you and really figure out themselves how it works, like that's where PickFu is very helpful. So you can just put in multiple options and see what people think and then double down on the ones that work well.
Yeah. Another way that we used it, now that I remember, is to know what competitors are doing even better. By that I mean, if hula hoops again, I take the top 8 competitors and their main images, and then I run them against each other to see what's to see what the audience excuse me to see what the audience says, and then based off that I come up with creative ideas of how, at least the agency, of how we can be. Like maybe the audience says, you know what, all these images are great, but some of this is missing, or this could be better, or something like that. We take that feedback that from these the feedback from these images, and we create our own images, and most likely those images are going to stand out from the competitors. So not just that, like what you were saying about the packaging, there's like this other way that actually like we were using it, and we got that idea from the competition, actually, because during the competition we had to like test we ran so many tests. I remember I don't know if we were the agency that ran the most amount of tests. I know we ran so many tests, man. That was crazy, but it's so good. And I would say the key insight that why we won the competition, one of the key things. Obviously, our team is great. Shout out to all my team. You're amazing. We wouldn't be here without you. But it was testing, right? So we created 3 packages, and from those 3 packages, we tested those 3 packages, and then from the one that won, we created 3 different packages from that main one that won, and then we ran them against each other. And there were so many loopholes, like you could, things you can clean up afterwards. Going down that rabbit hole that you said, just to make the product or the packaging at least as perfect as possible before you even launch it, which is the idea, right? To create sales.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and actually see if I can, because it's super interesting, right? Like you guys definitely were the agency that used the most polls, not even close, right? I think it was something like 65 or 70 polls. And that was across, we had them do photos, we had them do graphic design, we had them do copy, and then video as well. And it was so interesting to see because, the creative team is good, right? Really, really good. I'm not questioning that at all. But I think a lot of it did actually come down to the testing, right? Just going that one level deep, one level deep, one level deep. And so I'm going to pull up your PickFu account, and I want to just show some of the examples, just to show, because some of the concepts that were started with, and then what polls actually ended up in the end, were super interesting to see. I'm going to see if I can pull up a couple examples here.
Yeah, for sure. In the meantime, guys, please do remember to subscribe. We really appreciate it. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, give us a follow, connect with us. We'll be more than happy to reach out or connect with me personally, connect with Anthony as well, and see how we move forward with all this. And if you have any questions for Anthony, please leave them down below in the comment area. We'll get in touch with you as soon as we can. And as well, if you do want a marketing consultation from us, myself, or any of my team members, will be more than happy to jump on a call with you and see how we can, help your brand in any way possible. Maybe it's just, market analysis or a benchmark analysis of your listing or your competitor's listing, or just creating the idea behind the content itself.
Okay, I've almost got these up. There's like definitely too many to show, but
yeah,
there's a couple that come to mind, and they're pretty cool to see the progression. Hold on, I just got a couple more here.
Guys, don't forget to watch the last podcast that we launched with Elizabeth Green. We were talking about PPC. Incredible. I would say PPC analyst and PPC executor. She's very knowledgeable about the area that we talked to. We talked about how main images definitely help you stand out in PPC, and as well as video sponsor ads. Very, very good tool to use if you have brand registry.
Yeah, I've been watching your stuff on the like the A+ content. I've been seeing the stuff on Instagram, and it's really good advice. Too many people just don't have any of that up at all, you know.
No, and it's crazy, like all these tools that you can use for Amazon, and you just keep checking boxes and boxes, and you're just giving the algorithm more, I would say, more reasons to rank you higher in the best way possible. So, sellers, if you're not using A plus and you have brand registry, obviously, please, get in contact with us. We'll give you a really good discount. But we just want you to win, because if you win, we win. And you have to remember that the content is the listing. There's literally, you have the best product in the market, but if your images are not converting, if your images are not driving traffic, if your PPC is not good, there's so many things that go into it. I understand. The content is the listing. At the end of the day, that is your virtual shelf. And if that's not, doing good, like there's no point on selling on Amazon, because the competition is fierce. Before you can start selling on Amazon with a couple $1,000s for a private label. I don't think that's the case anymore. Just shipping costs went through the roof. So definitely the content is the listing, guys. I can't stress this enough. I don't know if we got Anthony ready with the polls. Yeah, we got it. Okay.
Yeah, let me show some, because these are, I just love this. And again, like the reason that, look, the creative was always good, and I can't speak to that enough. Like Raphael, the video that your team put out, it was just so freaking top notch. And you got to think too, this is a brand that like is a brand new brand. It hasn't existed. It was a brand new launch. And I think the goal with a lot of these things, and where I've seen the sellers that have the most success, is people look at it and they think like, okay, I think I've heard of this brand before. Of course, they've never heard of it. It's only been around for a few months, but it has the look and feel of a brand that's really been around a lot longer. I'm going to share my screen though, and I'm going to this is so cool for me to see. These are just a few polls. Like I said, there's like 5 or 6 pages of polls just in the account to go through. And so I'm just going to go through a few of the images, right? Like this is just so interesting, because this was one graphic that started out. I don't even remember what the point was. I think it was going to have some copy on it. And I think we have the more developed graphic, but you can see here, like these different concepts that they're playing around with, because they're basically showing that it comes in a 3-pack. And so here you can see like we've got some inspiration here from like the roof of the Sistine Chapel, like someone handing this, right? And we've got it just on the white background. Then we're showing some different ethnicities here. This is the winner. And then so they take these, like they know that they're not going to use this concept, but there's something in his brain that's like, this is kind of interesting, like maybe handing it to someone. And
so it's so like, fun to see this.
I just saw that. I'm like, where do you come up with this stuff? Like, it's just like you have it. Of course, this isn't going to be what you're going to use, but you're just throwing it in there. Just because there might be something salvageable. Like when
oh my god, this is so funny, man! Crazy. I don't even remember about this, to be honest.
And then, so what do we do, right? Like we take what we learn from here. People are liking this because it's showing the 3 bottles. It's showing some different diversity in the skin color. And then so it's like, okay, now we've taken this, we've read the feedback about what people like, and then now we're going to go add it on the blue background, but then not just stop there, come up with a few different colors, like this dark
shades,
dark
because all these little things, matter. Like the dark shade in the top could make you actually, feel like it's not good enough, it's not clean enough. There's so many things that really go into it. Even if it comes from the top to the bottom, or from the bottom to the top, and that does influence a buyer's decision. It does make him feel like, hey, is this good for me or is it not good for me? So I would say the devil is in the details. So yeah, definitely try things out, guys.
Okay, I want to show another one. One of the other objectives for the teams was to go and create different types of product packaging, right? And so I think the original box that was started with was a square box. And so you can see here, again, if you go between the details of each of these packaging, they're very, very similar, but there's small nuanced details, whether it's the contrast that's making it pop a little bit more, adding in the teeth, right? Like all of these different things. And so they start here, they figure out this is the winner. Then they come up with a totally different design. And they're like, what if, because it's called Germ Shark, what if we make this look like a shark fin? Right? So totally different out of the box idea. One of these is going to be used. One of them is not going to be used, but they're still going through that process of like, let's just throw things to the wall. Let's see what sticks.
Yeah, I remember when they came up with the shark fin idea, I was like, Okay, sure, why not? I mean, what's the worst gonna happen? Yeah, germ, shark fin. Yeah, let's just do it. It's like, but packaging and all this. I'm like, you're right, but let's just go with it. Let's see how it works. Let's see what comes up with it.
And yeah, and so this is where we end up here, like very, very cool. And look, maybe the thing is at the end of the day, you really wouldn't ship it in this packaging because you're going to lose a lot of that dimensional volume on the top. But the point is, like, people like the different box shapes. So maybe you go back, you find out that this is going to add too much on your fulfillment costs to really make this profitable. And so now it's like, we're going to slim down that fin and make it much shorter. So it's still, still going to fit, right?
Yeah, and one of the things that we were thinking is like making the shark fin in a way that if you cross them together and you flip one and they fit, and they're instead of being a fin, it's like a rectangle, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's one of the things we were thinking of before we even obviously if the client wants to go throughout the whole thing with this.
Okay, Raphael, there's just a couple more that I want to show that I think are really, really good. This one was probably one of my favorites, and I use this as an example like over and over again throughout my presentations because this was the first time I had really seen it done. And so one of the things they had to do is go and create lifestyle images and show the different scenarios where people were going to use this. We said, one, we wanted to be like in an indoor environment, right? Like, and then one like in an outdoor environment, right? And again, remember the whole point of this is flow of information. What can we get to click in someone's brain about the areas they should be using this? And so, this one was actually for the travel size. Like we wanted to show that it was small and compact. Yeah. And so before the lifestyle shoot even happens, Raphael and his team go and they say, okay, like which one of these pegs would be most helpful in helping you understand the travel size of this? And so I couldn't find the actual final image of this, but basically it's like they find out that this is the winner, this woman pulling it out of the purse with the really nice nails. But then the amazing part is they figured out that this is the winner. And then the image that they created in their lifestyle shoot looked even better. Like the nails looked really good. She was pulling it out of the bottle. The purse looked even better. And so again, you want to think like, what's the most relevant application that someone's going to have to emphasize that this is a travel size hand sanitizer? And this was the one that clicked. And then again, they did it here with like, okay, basically this was for the outdoor or public location, like which one of these best fits? And it's like, is someone going to spray it on before they use the elevator? Are they going to be using a grocery cart? And it was very interesting because when the judges were going through and they were evaluating the photos, like two of the other teams, they were showing applications, like people using this in places that just didn't make sense. Like it just wasn't logical. Like option A really makes sense. You're going to use hand sanitizer while being in a grocery store. But like, are you really going to put on hand sanitizer before you touch the elevator button? Like nobody really does that, right?
Probably use the key or something.
Yeah. And then like, this is the last one I want to show here, but again, it's like, this is for this indoor private location. And so they're going and figuring out like, okay, is someone going to put on the hand sanitizer before they open the car door, like, or after they open the car door, before they open it, or inside their car? Like probably inside the car, right? And so they share at studio, they figured this out first. And then they went through and said, okay, now that we know what's the ideal scenario, how should the graphic actually look? Like we've optimized for the flow of information. Now we're going to optimize for visual appeal. And again, these are all super similar, the same copy, just slightly different graphics on it, but it's such a big difference in the end, right?
No, man, you could have said it a better way, to be honest. This is just leave it up for a little bit, but this is so important. This is actually the way that we approach every situation when we do analysis for our brand. So what I try to tell all my clients or everybody that I meet is that everybody can take pretty pictures, to be honest. Like right now in this digital age, like anybody can take really good pictures. You don't have to be an experienced filmmaker to take a really good picture. You don't have to be a certified drone pilot to take amazing footage from Hawaii, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. Yep. so having all this gear, it allows you to really take on really good content, but doesn't mean that the content is gonna be effective. And the only way to get effective content is to analyze and see what's really gonna, help buyers make that buying decision. And this is so important, how you just structure it, because that was exactly the way that we structured. Like, okay, guys, let's see. In what scenario would the person really be using it? Is he going to be using an elevator? Is he every time, if he lives in a building, is he going to be using it every time he gets off and off the elevator? Is it really? But he goes to a supermarket, or she goes to a supermarket once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. Maybe he uses more there. So we competed that. We put it against each other, and then we saw what was going to win, as well as for the car. If you like travel and commute with your car, which is what I do almost every day, in what situation with a car would you use it? So I would say that, the content is the listening again. Like, I cannot make this stress enough, but to have effective content, you really need to have data. We are extremely data driven, and this tool has been amazing so far. We've used it. We've continued, like, in all of our quotes, we already put in a budget for PickFu. That's how important it is for us. Like, we don't launch anything unless the client doesn't really want to pay for it. But we literally ask them, and like, hey, we should definitely do this, because if your listing wins, we're gonna win. The more money you make, the more referrals you're gonna give us, the more you're gonna come back to us. So we can't stress enough. We run PickFu as much as we can. And yeah, definitely recommend it. Anthony, go ahead.
And I just want to say, I think you make a really good point there, right? Like, camera equipment is better than it's ever been, right? Like, if you compare the technology we have just on our phone, you can shoot shots that are easily better than you could do a decade ago being a professional. Like, it's super easy. The thing I see a lot of the time, and a lot of agencies that aren't up to the level of Share It Studio, is they're able to deliver really good photos, really good designs. And I've seen firsthand, right? I've come up with things that even have been tested, and then I upload them into a listing, and I think for sure conversion rate's going to go up. But it just doesn't work like that. What looks the best always isn't what converts the best. And sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes things that look not good at all, right, they convert really, really well. But it's because on Amazon, people, like, if you can do both, right, it's really good. And you should focus on that flow of information first before the visual part. If you can do both, you're going to win for sure. But a lot of people are just focusing on what looks good. They hire an agency, they hire their friend who's really good at photography, and they come up with these things that they look good, but they're not logical. And there's something in the brain, especially when you're scanning quickly, that if it's not logical and it doesn't click, the person isn't going to try to figure it out. They're not going to think like, maybe I do actually use the hand sanitizer before I press the elevator button. There's something in their brain that clicks, and they're like, this isn't right? This isn't a real scenario. And then what are they going to do? They're going to bounce. They're going to go to one of the other competitors' listings, and someone who actually does a better job of making it click in their brain. Those are the people who get conversions, right? It's that simple. And I think a lot of sellers are very attached to the way something looks, and they're like, oh no, the customer's going to try to figure this out. It's like, that's why your conversion rate's so low. They don't figure it out. They're just going to find someone who does a better job.
Yeah, it's all about the little details of making that emotional connection with the buyer. It is, marketing, after all, it is emotional. You want to make it feel, the product, hand sanitizer, you need to make the person feel safe, that they can trust you, that they can use this for their family, that they can use this in their day-to-day life. Things that there'll be more. If you put somebody in an elevator, or you put them outside of their normal area, common area, which is a supermarket, most likely they'll feel more insecure in the supermarket, right? So maybe that's why the supermarket photo won. There's so many things that go into it, but the thing is that we have to understand that what I know is that I don't know anything. So for that, we have to test it out, test it as much as we can. And PickFu is a great tool for this, guys. We're coming up in the 30-minute mark. I'm trying to make these 30 minutes. Anthony,
can I show one more example, Rafael?
Yeah, of course. Come on, let's go.
So this is something that's different, and this is a really good example of something where you think something would work and it would be better, but it actually doesn't. And so I'm going to pull up. This is from a series that we put together called Thursday Teardown. And basically, we got this. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
So basically, on Thursday Teardown, we got a random product on Amazon. In this case, it was a dog trimmer. And we went through and we optimized the main and secondary images and kind of showed the step-by-step process for doing it. And so one of the things that I thought was very surprising was we were going through and we were optimizing this graphic, which basically shows what's included. And the graphic that they started with, and keep in mind, we didn't sandbag and get something on page 2. This was like a well-ranked page 1 competitor, like maybe 4 or 5 organic position. And so this is what they started with as the what's included graphic. And it literally is just their actual main image, and then this really janky kind of list of like what's included, and some of these things aren't even like, I guess they couldn't figure out how to make this underneath, or it didn't fit.
Yeah.
And so this is what they started with, right?
Okay.
And so again, we're going to the designer and we say, hey, come up with a version that's better than this. And so she creates all of these different ones that, we did some testing for the branding. And so, all-in-one dog grooming kit, and we're showing, okay, what's included. We're trying different orientations, things coming out of the box, showing the bonus accessories. And we found out this to be the winner, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I mean, we're comparing it against this, which is just absolute garbage.
I think this one would win.
The original.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you're quite good at this, right? Because a lot of sellers would look at this and they would be like, okay, well, this is a slam dunk, right? It looks way better. It looks way, who wants to buy this? It looks like garbage, right? But what do we do?
Super professional.
We go and test it against the original, and we lost, right? We lost terribly. We were 32% versus 68%. And so we're trying to figure this out. Like, okay, this one looks way better, but the one on the right actually won. And when we started reading the feedback, what we started to see actually, when we started to read the feedback, basically what people wanted to see more than anything is they wanted to see a list of items, and they wanted that to be displayed in words, right? Because like we're used to not seeing, hey, here's all the things that are included, and trying to look and see what's actually included. People are used to seeing a list, right? So they can be like, oh, I want it to have this nail file. I want it to have scissors, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the cool thing though is like, even though our new image lost, right? We take the feedback, we go and create a new version, right? We take the feedback, and now what we do is we just create a really good looking graphic, but we just have it in there as well, right? Because people are going to read the list. They can kind of go and see afterwards, okay, here's the things that are there, but it needs to click in their brain first. The flow of information needs to be there. And so when we add the feedback, now we've nailed the flow of information. We show the list, but now it also looks a lot better. And then now we're able to beat the original, right? And so that's what this whole thing is based on. It's like focus on the flow of information and then get the aesthetics right second. And you really, if you miss that first part, you're going to end up uploading graphics that look really good, but it just doesn't click in someone's brain.
Yes. This is so good. This is so good, Anthony. This is very good. Like, this is like one of the key processes that we take in the studio before even launching something exactly like this. Competitors. Okay, our competitors. Let's launch them. Let's make them compete against each other. All right, this one won. All right, great. How can we make this better? All right, we came up with this option. All right, let's put the competitors' winning option with our option. Let's see what happens. Sometimes we lose. The losing is actually a lot better because now you have data inside that it's going to make you stand out even more. So now the second option you showed, the first one you lost 68 to 30 something, you said?
Yeah.
The second one you won, it was like 16 against like, the rest. So you literally crushed it, and that's what's about, this is like, I see it like this is some sort of like, a little bit of the game. And the more you are better at it, the more money you're going to make, or the more money our sellers are going to make, which is the idea. Excuse me. And at the end of the day, it's not about the money, but it's about the money. So if you can help the consumers make better decisions, and it's going to convert their listings better, why not help them as much as we can? And for that, we use PickFu. This is one of the tools we use. We use many other tools, and we'll get to them in later podcasts. That's why you should subscribe. But PickFu is one of the key companies that will enable us for growth. So I really appreciate for you being here, Anthony. Anthony as well helped us tremendously. So really, really appreciate it, my man. Thank you so much for being here. Do you want to add anything else before we go?
Yeah, I just want to leave everyone with some parting advice, right? Like I'm a real big Elon Musk fan. There's a new documentary that you can watch out on Netflix, and it's all about SpaceX. The really cool thing is if you read his biography that he has, if you watch him in interviews, his whole thing is like they are going to go and just fail as many times as possible. And in fact, he's talking even about doing these rocket launches. And these are expensive machines that they knew that they were trying things that was ultimately going to make the rocket fail, but they wanted to just see on what lines is it going to fail so that they could learn faster, right? Because if they were just doing the things that they know were going to help the rocket launch, it's not going to help them later on when things get more complex. And so the thing you got to understand when you're working on something like listings or Amazon products, like you're not launching billion-dollar rockets into the sky and looking for them to fail. You're just trying some different images, trying some different concepts. And the more you fail, the more you learn. it's going to help you create something that's better and better. So just keep going that level deep. It's very low risk in the grand scheme of things. And like Raphael said, when you get this right, you make a lot of money, right? You get bigger exits. It's just better for everyone. So it's kind of fun. Just respect the process.
Yes, definitely respect the process. Definitely recommend PickFu guys. If you need any help from us, let us know. If you need any help from Anthony, leave the questions down below in the comments area, and we'll be more than glad to help you. Again, thank you so much for being here with us, Anthony. This is a truly honor for us, and hopefully you'll be down in Florida soon. If not, I'll be in and wherever you are, I'll meet you there. I know you travel a lot. But yeah, man, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Until next time, guys, please remember to subscribe. Very important for us. Definitely, we're a growing channel, and we're going to keep doing many more of these. Thank you, everybody, for doing this. Maria, the whole team, Louis, my whole team for making the pre-production for this, for getting this done, and Anthony for taking the time to meet with me. All right. See you guys.
Thanks, man. See you later.